Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Welcome to the 2021 Lincoln Day dinner of the Northwest Suburban Republican organizations. It's wonderful to see so many Republicans in one room at one time. As we say in Chicago, bigger than a phone booth. I think this is a fabulous portent to 2022. And I think it's time to get this meeting of the Fire Pritzker Club underway. First of all, I would like to ask if everyone in the room who is a member of Turning Point USA, will you please stand? Members of Turning Point USA, wherever you are, would you please stand? Stay standing, please. We are delighted to have Turning Point USA members with us because you represent an important part of the future of this country. And because the future of this country is important to all of us, I'd like to ask all of the Americans in the room, please, to take a stand. Stand on your feet. Commissioner Williams, Raquel Williams, will you join me, please? Please. Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell, I'm sorry, Raquel Mitchell. Please join me. Thank you. I want to make sure that aisle is clear because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to call upon Commander Amrine and Legionnaires Byrd and Healy. Commander, present colors. It's now my pleasure to call on a member of the Republican organization of Will Township, a Will Township Commissioner, Raquel Mitchell, to lead us in the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Raquel Mitchell. And while you're all still on your feet, will you please join with me in reciting that pledge that helps define us as a nation? Because after all, it is our allegiance to our Constitution and that makes us the American people. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commander? Thank you, Commander and Legionnaires. And while you're still on your feet, if I may I invite you please to join with me for just a moment of silence as we recall those men and women representing us, representing the American people tonight across the sea in places of danger where they still are trying to save human lives and still trying to make the cause of freedom real. There are American soldiers and sailors, airmen and Marines who are in danger tonight. And also tonight, there are people guarding our streets here at home who every single day, as we saw just this last week in Chicago with the death of Chicago police officer Ella French, put their lives on the line every day to protect freedom, to protect our lives, to protect our property, to maintain a free and orderly society. So may I ask you just for a few seconds to hold them in your minds and in your hearts. Alex Gromchek? Is Alex with us? Student of the University of Iowa, yes?
Correct.
Alex, I call on you, please, if you would be so kind to lead us in an invocation. Lead us in prayer.
Sir.
Thank you.
Abraham Lincoln's prayer for our nation. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable ministry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people the multitude brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endow with thy spirit of wisdom those whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In times of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail. All of which we ask through your word. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. I'm going to invite Rocio and our staff to serve the first course. After the first course, I'll be back and we'll talk a little bit more. And you'll meet Charlie Kirk. So enjoy dinner, and we'll return. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen from coast to coast. What a fabulous crowd. I mean, this is just a tribute to all the organizations of the Northwest suburbs, this turnout. We thank you very much. All right, that's one course down. I hope you've enjoyed bread and soup. This is not a Cuban party dinner. This is not one of Fidel Castro's dinners. There will be more food. There will be a second course. But first, substantively, the main event. Charlie Kirk is a child of Northwest Suburban Cook County. Charlie's from Wheeling Township, went to Wheeling High. A few years ago, seeing the sorry turn of life in our country, Charlie did something that's unusual for anybody of any age, adult or youngster. He decided to do something about it. A very tender age, barely out of his teens. As you know, he organized Turning Point USA. Born right here in Cook County, Turning Point USA, now a national organization on campuses and community chapters, even high school chapters, everywhere in the country. A rousing organization that combines a serious devotion in an almost scholarly way to the principles and the values that undermine the American Republic, but also they have a lot of fun. They know how to take the fight to the punks on the left, punks of all ages, I might add, and they take it good and hard. We owe a debt of gratitude, and I'm very proud of Charlie for creating what has become the largest youth political organization in the country. And the stunning thing about a youth organization in this country is it's pro-American. Now, Charlie does other things besides leading Turning Point USA. He's very active in all kinds of media. You probably see him in places as far afield as Real Clear Politics as a commentator, National Review, other publications, online and in print. And he's lately learned to master the spoken word in electronic media. You can hear him on the radio. You can pick up his podcasts. Go to your podcast app now or tonight or tomorrow and use the search function and look for The Charlie Kirk Show, Charlie Kirk Show. You'll find his app. It's a 5-day-a-week app, a 7-day-a-week radio program, and you will be amazed and delighted by the message you hear. And you're going to hear a distilled version of Charlie Kirk's message to the people of his home community, the people of the northwest suburbs of Cook County in the state of Illinois, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Republicans of Northwest Cook County, it is my delight and my pleasure to present to you Charlie Kirk.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Wow, what a room. This is probably one of the longest rooms I've ever spoke at in my life. Thank you to everyone who organized this, and it's great to be back home, growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, going to Wheeling High School. Anyone Wheeling here? I know Dan Patlack here is somewhere. He's a good man. Dan is a great American, and I met Dan at the early stages of Turning Point USA. I love coming back and speaking at these dinners, because I just kind of get a blast from the past. Like, oh, you spoke at my Tea Party meeting when you were 17 years old, and you spoke at my Republican meeting when you were 19 years old. I apologize, I can't remember everyone's names, but I do remember how awesome you were to me. I remember how you believed and how warmly you embraced this idea. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come and do this and try to encourage all of you is to show you that when you didn't say it was a dumb idea to have an 18-year-old from Wheeling High School to try to start a youth organization, that you actually all participated in something that's, I believe, going to save the country, which is a bottom-up grassroots movement of students standing with conservative values on high school and college campuses across the country. All of you played a role in that. And it's easy, there's many quotes that we could talk about with this, which is, failure is an orphan and success has many fathers. And there are people in this room that actually have the ability, have earned the ability, and throughout the years to say, I was there at the beginning. That when Turning Point USA, that now is on over 1,000 high schools across the country, 2,000 colleges, reaching millions of people on digital social media every single day. Thank you. We have over 175 people on full-time staff. The Lord has blessed us beyond anything we could imagine. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I saw that one coming. Now, a lot of people in this room can say that, but it's important to mention the people that really believed in us from the beginning. And it really kind of started in a garage in Lamont, Illinois. Anyone from Lamont down here? Anyone? Bill Montgomery, may he rest in peace. I think a lot of people here had the chance to meet Bill Montgomery. And, he left something behind that is good and tough and beautiful. And shouldn't that be something we all strive to do? And the legacy of Turning Point USA is one of those things. So I want to mention a couple people in this room before I get into my remarks about how most Republicans we send to Washington, D.C. are gutless wonders. We will get that in a second, trust me. Because if you feel like I do, I actually want a Republican Party that defends its voters. But I do want to make sure I mention and say thank you. Yeah, what a concept, right? Say thank you to a couple people. The first of which is Mike Miller, who's sitting right up here from Barrington, Illinois. And I went into Mike Miller's jewelry store when I was 18 years old, and he was one of the few people that wrote us a check, and he said, I believe in your vision and what you can do to help save the country. Tom Sadeka is another one from, I was going to say Precision Payroll, but that's not true, from Freedom Square, some big things to come out of there soon. And also Gary Rabine, who I promised I wasn't going to say anything about, so I'm saying nothing about the governor's race, okay? All I'm going to say is Gary's a great guy, and Gary, you've been great to me throughout the years and always very loyal, and I'll be loyal to you as well, because Gary hosted me at his country club back in February of 2013, and it was this small little coalition of Tom and Mike and Gary, and I'll never forget that. And we traveled the country, did some crazy things together. And Chicago has not always had the best political legacy. We're here in Niles. And, I always joke around, Illinois, land of Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, Niles, Maine East, Hillary Clinton, we don't claim her, okay? Let me be very clear. Barack Obama, he says he's from Chicago. Yeah, sure, okay. From a lot of places. Martha's Vineyard, right? So, and also Marco is here, Marco Sukovic, who was one of our early students. I want to make sure I mention him. He's doing wonderful work here in Illinois. And one of the students that really captured this vision early. And I'll never forget that. That was a great couple years we had together with that. So what's happening is really exciting in the nation with Turning Point USA. But now let's talk about why we're here. And then most importantly, what you can do about it. And I'm going to kind of go through some of the successes of the school boards in Barrington in just a second. But I have to tell you, I go to a lot of these dinners, and I find that when you get this many conservatives in a room, which I'm told is the third largest gathering of this sort, right? Which I'll take, it's because with all the COVID stuff and all of that, and they said they only had a couple seats left, but I wish I could take credit for that. You're here because you feel like you're losing your country. You're here because you're tired of watching Tucker Carlson and buying a pillow and being like, what else can I do to help save the civilization, right? And by the way, promo code Kirk, okay, on mypillow.com, all right? I want you to write that down. The Giza Dream Sheets are unbelievable. Those slippers are the best things ever. You want to do more. You're tired of seeing your children being taught to hate themselves and hate their nation. You, like me, in a 72-hour period, feel humiliated as you see what's happening in Kabul, Afghanistan right now. I think the war in Afghanistan should be ended correctly and prudently. It's like saying, I have to have surgery. I'm going to have some sort of drunk guy with a pocket knife try to take out my appendix. The way that we decided to get out of Afghanistan is an impeachable offense. Let me say that again. It is an impeachable offense, the way that was handled in Afghanistan. And so there is this trajectory that we are on, which is why the attendance is what it is tonight, which is why you're so locked in and you're willing to take one of your, weeknights as a nice day in Chicago in August. And I know growing up here, there's not many of those, because you no longer want to be a spectator, you want to be a participant in saving this beautiful gift that God gave us, which is the United States of America. We're going to talk about that tonight, of kind of what you can do about it. I do want to mention some people, another list of really good people that are actually doing something about that on a local level. I want to thank Barrington Township, who did 20 tables, is that right? Pretty amazing. In particular, Marty McLaughlin, who we've had, Mike Miller again, Colleen, and Peter Kay, and Kelly Dittman, and Josie Kroll, Ann Ordway, Maggie McGonigal, and Maria Millick. Thank you guys for that. And the important thing is that they are also taking back the school board in Barrington High School, and that's the more important thing that they are doing. And the school board, I grew up in the Tea Party movement. A lot of Tea Party people here, and we said hi together. And I spoke at all of your Tea Party meetings. And I feel this school board moment is bigger than what the Tea Party movement was back in 2010, 2011. This is organic, this is authentic, and it's personal. The Tea Party movement was, stop spending money, and the debt is too high, and just kind of an anti-Obama fervor. This deals with your children. This is, you know what? No, you're not going to put a mask on my child. This is, no, you're not going to teach critical race theory and anti-Americanism. And I am seeing parents all across the country, from Scottsdale Unified School District, from Loudoun County, Virginia, to Santa Barbara. Oh, hey, Tim, how you doing? Good to see you, man. The Ozinga family as well. Sorry, just so many friends here. It's like kind of like a high school, college reunion here. It's really fun. I'm seeing this happen in real time. So we're going to talk about that. So the theme of tonight's speech is going to be 3 words. How we win. It's that simple. People ask me all the time, Charlie, how do we win? And so I'm actually writing a long-form essay on this, so this will kind of be a preview. And who better people to preview this kind of an idea of the people who need to know how to win the most, which is the wonderful conservatives here in Illinois, which is we're not even clear on what winning looks like at times as conservatives and Republicans. Now, the obvious way to win is to take back chambers of power, right? Taking back the governor's mansion, taking back the state legislature, taking back the House of Representatives, taking back the United States Senate. But we're fooling ourselves if we think just political victories is how we are going to win. So when you go to NFL training camp or you go to Major League Baseball spring training, they're very clear of what success looks like. Success looks like holding up the Lombardi Trophy in a champagne-filled celebration, and they work backwards from there. What does success look like for us conservatives? Well, we need to talk about what that is, and it's more than just political victories. It's a country where your children are more excited about American history than you are. It's a country where all of a sudden, if anyone says anything that questions the beautiful culture and tradition of this nation, they get kind of ostracized. Like, no, we don't tolerate anti-Americanism around here. It's a nation where free speech is an unquestionable value. It's a nation where you don't have to all of a sudden fear you're playing Russian roulette with your child's values when you send them to college, as if they're going to come back some sort of social justice warrior, non-binary activist, and tell you how awful America is, and you get to pay for that. It's a nation where you no longer have to lock your doors because you're worried about predators and criminals walking the streets. It's a nation where all of a sudden our immigration laws have some sort of a semblance of reflecting the type of nation we want to be. So success is all those different policy objectives, but it really comes down to this. It's unquestionably defining and defending the American way of life. The American way of life is the envy of the world. The American way of life is the ability to reward good behavior and have a price and a cost for bad behavior. Guess what? We don't have to overthink this stuff. We have all these policy think tanks that write these white papers that no one ever reads. It's very simple. This is the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world, with the greatest political document ever written. It only stands when people rise up and defend it. And guess what? We're up against a well-funded, well-entrenched institutional bureaucracy that is at war with us every single day with this. So what does success look like? We want to restore the American way of life. So as I return here to Chicago, I want 2005 back. I want a nation where people weren't talking about race, sex, gender, politics all day long. I want the high school I went to that was 53% English as a second language high school, where I was a minority as a white male, where no one cared about skin color, where I was told that people that cared about skin color were racist bigots, which they are, by the way. People that care about skin color are racist bigots, and that's what we must call them. That you put up a big flag, and all of a sudden, I'm sure you see a lot of this in Winnetka, Evanston. Have you guys driven through Evanston lately? Holy moly. Drove through it. Whoa, what happened here? And, or if you drive through even Arlington Heights, and, these massive flags that say that, racism has no home here. The greatest threat to American society is existential racism. I say, you're the one that is manufacturing and implementing racism into our schools. I remember in 2008, 2009, and 2010, where even if you were like a red-blooded conservative, you're like, you know what? Okay, Grant Park is being overrun with 200,000 people. It's a black president. Like, fine. And instead, they got more intense about racial politics after that. And instead, our children from that point forward, and we all lived through this, we have now seen almost a Maoist Chinese-style cultural revolution over the last 10 years. We have now, historians are going to say, one of the most profound changes in the American way of life happened from 2010 to 2020. Where just the way we view each other, the way we talk to our family members has changed dramatically. We are now tasked, we are now deputized. In fact, we have a moral obligation to restore the American way of life, to now fight for it in every single arena possibly in America. That's what success looks like. And also, it's very clear, I have to mention this, I have a special note about this, it's going to be fun, which is we have to be very clear that the people that call themselves Republicans are actually protecting their voters. So, for example, there's a certain congressman, I think in the 16th District of Illinois, that needs to be primaried and removed for his vote on the January 6th Commission, for constantly fear-mongering, and his name is Adam Kinzinger, and he needs to be removed from office immediately for what he did. And any Republican organization that supports Adam Kinzinger is questionable at best. I'm going to say that again. Any Republican organization that does. He goes to D.C. You know why? He hates his voters. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the people that put them there. He cares about the lobbyists, the cocktail invites, and the invites to CNN. That's all he cares about. See, we as Republican conservatives, we want our elected officials to do some basic things and then maybe hopefully do some more, ambitious things, which is, can you just basically protect our way of life? Don't mandate our children to get vaccinated against their will. Don't put masks on them against their will. Don't shut down our churches while keeping liquor stores and marijuana shops open at a very basic level. And instead, it seems as if one of the reasons why we can't win, which is when we do win, all of a sudden the people that are either in charge at the top levels of our party, they are doing the opposite than what their voters are telling them to do. Let me just tell you kind of a newsflash. If you go out to rural Illinois, they're not clamoring for a mass amnesty deal right now. It's not exactly something that a lot of people are talking. You go out to Rockford, they're not exactly having breakfast. You're like, you know what we need? We need to go legalize 15 million Nicaraguan and Guatemalans that illegally entered into our country. You know what they're worried about? They're seeing their wages go down. They're seeing it harder to have big families. They're seeing the basic morals and values and principles that they have under attack all the time. They're seeing very basic gender norms like man is man and woman is woman be so questioned that all of a sudden, that if you dare say those things, you could be censored for hate speech. So what they're looking for, which is why they love Donald Trump, by the way, they're looking for someone to go fight for them and defend their values. You see, this is why the D.C. Beltway class never understood Trump. And, some people say, I didn't like his style, I didn't like, I'm not going to get into that, okay? Everyone has their own kind of way of looking at it. The one thing that everyone can agree on with Trump is he understood his instincts were so amazing that people that worked with their hands, the muscular class in this country, that they were under attack and under assault relentlessly from the ruling class in this country. And they said, please, will the guy that screams a lot at the debate and says things he shouldn't say, at least he's going to go to D.C. and fight for my values. At least that will happen. Because they grew conditioned for a couple years to kind of think that the elected officials wouldn't do that. And so, as we think about this question of how we win, and we've kind of defined what success looks like in at least some parameter, the other question is understanding the stakes of the fight. So the other side does not fear us and does not respect us. I'm going to prove it to you. So J.B. Pritzker, who I think is my favorite governor to make fun of on the radio, by the way. No, he really is. No, someone said something the other day. They said, Charlie, JB's going to run after. I said, he can't run on his best day. Trust me, that guy, he's not running towards anything. Trust me. Born on third and thought he hit a triple. He is one of the most unimpressive, stupid people ever to serve an elected office ever. And so, yeah, you could steal that one. Born on third and thought he hit a triple. Yeah, I'm a businessman. Like, calm down, okay? Your parents built the Hyatt fortune. You didn't massively screw it up. Like, okay. Yeah, I'm such a smart guy. He's got a stomach the size of Louisiana. Like, yeah, okay. It's like, people are like, you shouldn't talk like that. Look, he's destroying our state, the place I grew up, okay? Excuse me while I take the gloves off against this guy, okay? Anyway, so J.B. Pritzker is a great example of this, right? Which is he does not fear conservatives, Christians, people of faith. And I'll give you kind of two examples with this. So Timothy Christian School, you guys probably saw this story, right? Wonderful school. They just said, hey, we're still thinking about this mask mandate thing. Thinking about it, right? Like not even making a decision. And the same day, the Illinois State Board of Education came down and they removed their status immediately. It says on the ISBA website, it's a 3-strike policy, right? Like we're going to talk to you and dialogue with you immediately, steamrolling. Why? Well, because J.B. Pritzker wanted to execute a Soviet-style show trial against Timothy Christian and say, you see, you step out of line, I am going to punish you. Now, the problem in Illinois is we really don't have much political power, right? So you kind of have to take a knee and you have to surrender. Now, go to the state that I spend a lot of time in, Arizona, right? So we signed in Arizona, because Arizona is still more conservative than Illinois, as many of you know, it's changing, a law that said that schools cannot mandate masks for children, right? Rather common sense. I believe masking of children is child abuse, and I believe that no school should involve or engage themselves in that, right? And so, and it also has no epidemiological purpose at all, by the way, zero. But we do know it has a lot of social costs, emotional costs, and spiritual costs. So we pass this mandate. What ends up happening is you have 5 school districts that just say, yeah, we're not going to listen to that. You see, and the governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey, who I know, is kind of like afraid to kind of go after these school districts. You see, the left knows how to use political power. We don't. I'll give you another example. Joe Biden, in one of the most brazen unconstitutional measures, didn't get a lot of coverage, but we talked about this a lot on our podcast. Joe Biden comes out, and the Supreme Court says the eviction moratorium is not legal. He basically says, that's funny. The Supreme Court let them send their army, right? As Joseph would know very well, Andrew Jackson in 1832 said in the Worcester v. Georgia case, like, yeah, let them enforce it. So he just signs another executive order. He says, I don't care about what the Supreme Court says. I hope you understand how unprecedented that is, how dangerous that is, to treat the courts just kind of as a suggestion mechanism, right? So here's how a Republican Party that truly wants to win, here's how we should respond. We don't control the Senate, even though we should if it wasn't for all the voter nonsense that happened in Georgia. But so here's a different kind of thought experiment. We have to start thinking like Lincoln. This is the Lincoln dinner, right? I think it's the Lincoln dinner. You know why I love Lincoln? Is because Lincoln, every time he was confronted by lawyers, because he was a lawyer, he called nonsense and BS on all of them. You see, Lincoln was not formally trained. He studied Euclid, the Bible, and Shakespeare. He loved his country, and he was a creative thinker for a moral purpose. So they'd come to him and they'd say, you can't abolish slavery. He's like, okay. So he signs the Emancipation Proclamation, which is an act of war, which is kind of the same thing, and trying to find his way to do it. Why do I mention that? We got to start thinking a little more creatively. So for example, Biden signs that eviction moratorium. The governor of North Dakota, the governor of South Dakota, the governor of Oklahoma should say, okay, Keystone Pipeline XL construction resumes tomorrow. Come enforce it. It's that simple. That's the terms of engagement. It's a state-run project. Oh, well, the federal government has jurisdiction. Well, the president just defied it. Come bring federal agents and go arrest a bunch of workers. Joe Biden made a need-based argument saying that people are suffering. We can't evict them from their apartments. Okay. Well, the governors of the Dakotas should say, hey, you just, by the stroke of a pen, eliminated 15,000 jobs. Put them back to work. These are union jobs. These are middle-class families. Keystone XL Pipeline gets constructed tomorrow. Now, we don't like thinking like this. You know why? Because this is called escalation. We as conservatives are de-escalators. We want to have harmony. We want to try to seek peace. By the way, those are admirable things, by the way. That is what decent people do. You generally know if you're on the good side or the bad side, whether or not you're always trying to de-escalate conflict. But we've allowed that to become a weakness, and they know it. They know we're unwilling to use political power. So another great example is this. Another great example is that Republican attorney generals across the country should be opening criminal investigations into the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden selling these ridiculous You see these paintings? It's nausea. I mean, he's selling these for $500,000. They're like, well, they don't have jurisdiction. I'm sure Hunter Biden has someone that sold him something in the state of Arkansas because he impregnated some prostitute there and lied about it and all. Seriously, it's time to start using political power against the people that want to destroy you. And I want you to understand, in Illinois, this might not be as applicable, but a lot of you have, relationships, connections, and influence because you know where this ends. This ends with them creating an authoritarian post-constitutional state where we're like, man, I wish back when Charlie spoke at our Lincoln Reagan Day dinner, we actually didn't fool ourselves that we were in the midst of some sort of long-form dialogue. For people that are over the age of 50 in this room, this is a hard thing sometimes for you to grasp. Because you remember in America where all of a sudden we were trying to de-escalate and build meaningful things even if they had a D in front of their name. You remember in America where it wasn't always the stakes were this high, where all of a sudden in New York City and Los Angeles, you mandate vaccines to go to a restaurant or a bar. That if you don't have a vaccination card, you're not allowed to go to a restaurant in one of the major cities across the country. What country are we living in exactly? I'll tell you the country we're living in. We're living in a soft Soviet-style authoritarian state where they have no respect for the other half of the country. And so what we have to start to do is we have to start to have them understand that we have a lot more political power than we realize, that we have purchasing power, that we do control 31 governor mansions across the country. Some of them are questionable at best. That we do have churches, communities, and then our combined political power together is one of the reasons why I think they have a great vulnerability. So the second part of this kind of talk that I have here of how we win is I want to kind of just think about what is the threat assessment report, right? What are the things that we have going for us that we're good at? And what are the things that they don't, that they're, quite honestly, their vulnerabilities? Because if you're like me, you turn on television, all you hear is about the things we don't control. We don't control academia. We don't control the colleges. We don't control the corporations. We don't control the tech companies. We don't control athletics. It's like, okay, got it. How is that useful? So what is the Democrats' weak spot? What are their vulnerabilities? I'm going to tell you one of them. They are the most paranoid winners in the history of American politics. I have never seen such an unhappy group of victors in the history of the planet. And by the way, we must clearly say this to our friends and our family about how degenerate and ugly and out of control and frenetic the winners of the last election are. You're like, these are the people that you want govern. You want J.B. Pritzker to govern you? I guess some people say, yes, I do. And it's like, well, that's really interesting. Like, you want AOC and Ilhan Omar to, like, be in control of your government? I guess some people do. But here's the thing. Most Americans don't. Most Americans understand that there is embedded paranoia in what they're doing. This is why they're spying on Tucker Carlson, by the way. This is why the Department of Homeland Security memo bulletin 3 days ago by our own government said that anyone who opposes COVID-19 mandates is a domestic terror threat to the United States homeland, while Kabul is being overthrown by insurgents. And this kind of begs the question, which I think is actually a weak spot in their regime. And if I were to tell you one word that you need to use to describe our government, use the word regime. It's what they are. One of the weak spots of this regime is I don't think they actually want to be in charge of the government of this. I think they hate half the country. I really do. I think that they have such contempt for us. So they're going to be in a dilemma at some point. It's like you're not going to be able to wipe them off the face of the earth. I hope so. I pray so. So how are you actually going to reconcile those types of things together, right? And part of this, I think, comes down to one of the weak spots, which is they actually know there's an expiration date on their current power over us. I actually think they feel something coming. So I watch a lot of cable television, not because I have to, but I do radio and podcasting. It's exhausting. And after the 500th time you hear, the largest threat to America are conservatives and deplorables and Christians, and we kind of make fun of that. They're like, okay, yeah. But what if we are the greatest threat to them? What if they feel an equal and opposite reaction in the air, and they are horrified and scared to death, and they're trying to intimidate you from not showing up at that school board meeting? What if they're trying to intimidate you to not run for local office? What if they know that all of a sudden the clock is ticking on the power that they have over all of us? And so here we are in Illinois, and some of you are like, man, we can never win another statewide election day. Let me tell you a little tale about the bluest state, the most progressive state in the country, the story of California. I travel to California a lot. Don't hold that against me, okay? And California, if you think Illinois is bad, California is much worse. Trust me, truly. And what happened in California was a remnant of people, literally 800 people in California, that got together 2 years ago and they said, we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to organize, we're going to register voters, and we are going to try to recall our governor. Now, I was in meetings where people said, that is never going to happen. He'll never get recalled. No way. And they persisted. And they met in rooms like this, and they collaborated, and they believed. And they said, you know what? I think there's a weak spot in the Newsom regime. And then as a gift from God, and one of the reasons why I think we're going to win in a weak spot is these people are so undisciplined and self-interested and hubristic and prideful. Gavin Newsom, with his slicked-backed hair, goes to Napa Valley to go get a $2,500 a plate dinner with his lobbyist friends with the biggest windows you could find in the Western Hemisphere, and be like, you know what, I have such contempt for my voters, I'm going to have $10,000 bottle of wine, and no one's going to touch me. And all of a sudden, some person that worked for French Laundry, a busboy, this is a true story, a busboy said, that disgusts me. I'm a Democrat, but that leader right there is a disgusting person because my kid has to wear a mask at school. So this one busboy, you know what he did? He took a picture. He took a picture that probably changed California politics forever. Seriously, one picture. And this one picture went totally viral. And so, just so you know, I tracked this stuff really closely. The recall effort was not going to happen in California. It wasn't. And one meal that self-indulgent, prideful, ruling class individual Gavin Newsom had changed the course of California. It went from 300,000 signatures to where they needed 1.8 million to trigger the recall. They got 2.4 million after that one meal they had at French Laundry. So, where does that leave us in California? On September 14th, Gavin Newsom is facing a serious recall where the latest poll, and again, who knows polls, he's down 10 points. Yeah, that's right, that's California. He's down 10 points. Now, who knows what's going to happen, right? The way California, I'm a big Larry Elder fan. I'm a big Larry Elder fan. You better believe it. So, and so what I love about this story is it applies to all of you. Every time you get cynical about Illinois, go look to a state that's even more screwed up than Illinois, California. Okay, if you think, I want to tell you a story about California, if I can for a sec. Okay, San Francisco City Hall, they have a debate about public nudity, right? You know, because they got to screw up their state in some other way, right? They got meth addicts on the side of the street, people publicly defecating. They're moving out. People are getting shot and like whatever. They're like, you know what we need? Public nudity. That's what we need. The salvation of downtown San Francisco will be people walking around without clothes. So the city council starts debating whether or not to have public nudity, right? And this is what happens when you remove God from your society. You just start going in the most insane ways possible. And so the city council is really divided on this, right? The coalition for the pro-nudist and the anti-nudist. And the anti-nudist people were like, you know, the reason we oppose it is because of sanitation, right? Is that what if all of a sudden you have naked people sitting on bus stops? Who knows what they're going to leave behind? Like, forget the moral argument about, I don't know, having naked people walking your streets and ended up passing, by the way. It failed, ended up passing. So if you think Chicago is screwed up, like just I could give you 50 examples like this in California. What I love about the California example, though, is a small group of people were faithful. They were prayerful. They were optimistic. They were activistic. They didn't sit down, and they stayed the course. And yes, on September 14th, Gavin Newsom, if he wins, he'll only win by 1 or 2 points. And he's shutting down the state again. He's mandating masks again. And I'm telling you, on the morning of September 15th, it's a 50-50 chance that a Republican will be the governor of California. And even if that doesn't happen, right? Even if that doesn't happen, if it's within the margin of error, that should be a fire alarm for the Democrat Party that we're coming for you in 2022, that we are going to take back the House and that we're going to take back the Senate. Because if all of a sudden you can get within the margin of error in a state like California, what could happen in Illinois? J.B. Pritzker is probably sweating. He does that anyway. He is probably sweating Like I got J.B. Pritzker jokes like you wouldn't believe, by the way. No, he's a contemptible individual. He really is. I mean, I could go into that in a whole different. I got a whole different speech about J.B. But I will personally come and campaign against J.B. Pritzker, by the way. Whatever you guys need, call me. I'll give you my phone number, okay? Seriously. Right, Dan? We're going to do that. And so is that all these Democrat governors are now looking. I want you to think about what happened in the last couple of weeks. You have, mob boss Don Corleone, Andrew Cuomo falling from grace in New York. You have Gavin Newsom under massive threat of a real recall effort. You have Nancy Pelosi that basically said in a press release last week that she thinks that she's going to be done as Speaker and Republicans are going to take back the House. And so the momentum is here. So what does that mean for us? Are we now going to do the thing where like, oh yeah, we're going to win, we're going to sit at home? I want a 50-seat majority in the House of Representatives. I want to control every single committee, and I want the Democrats to be afraid about the subpoena power, the investigative power that we have. For example, if we had the House, you know what would happen? We would have a special committee right now in Afghanistan. We should be dragging White House officials in front of Congress right now, generals from the Department of Defense. We should have first-line witnesses. Political power needs to be re-won in 2022, and I feel that trajectory is there. The final thing, so I can go back into the strengths and the weaknesses. Let me talk about a strength. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I'm a talk show host, so I could talk all day long. But let me talk just briefly about some of our strengths. I can go through our weaknesses. I kind of talked about some of them. The people that call themselves Republicans in the Republican Party are kind of, desire to harmonize with the other side all the time. Let me tell you our strength. One of our strengths is how much we have been able to win with so many of our people uninvolved. Here's the one thing, kind of a marching order for you tonight. You need to become a political animal. Now, we don't like talking like that. You're like, come on, I want to raise the kids and help the church and build the business. No, if you become a political animal, all of a sudden this country gets won in 2 to 4 years. What does that look like? It means not just in who you vote for. It's not just in how the voters you register. Let me give you another example. I encourage you to pray about doing this. Go through your credit card statement for the last 3 years. Go to secondvote.com, 2ndvote.com, where they rate every company in the country based on their woke score, whether they're a woke company or not. Go through your credit card statement and circle the companies that you will pledge to never buy from again. If all 800 people in this room did that, that will make a difference. If all 10,000 people watching online did that, it'll make a difference. If all of our millions of people listening on radio and podcasting did that. So Charlie, what does that mean? I want Coca-Cola to know that if you go woke, you go broke Coke. It's that simple. That if all of a sudden you come out and you say, hey, voter ID is against the values of our company and Coca-Cola, like, okay, we have a lot of options. First of all, don't drink Coca-Cola as it is. It's really kind of bad for you, and Diet Coke's actually worse, by the way. I get in this argument all the time. They're like, I drink Diet Coke. I'm like, yeah, it's actually worse. There's a lot of studies that have actually been done on this. Is that there needs to be a consumer price to this, everybody. Now, I know it's hard. It's like, okay, you live in Chicago, United Airlines, you're like, good luck trying to travel without flying United or American. But what about the other decisions that we're making? The consumer-based decisions. And here's the other thing. Go out of your way to find the conservative companies that are doing a good job to defend our values and stand for the right things. And Tom and I, we've talked about a lot. Big things coming out on that. And so, look, I'm going to talk a little bit now about Afghanistan. I had a note to talk about this. I can't stand being humiliated on the world stage, okay? And really the lesson out of this Afghanistan thing is that we are led by buffoons. We are. Is that we are being led by absolute clowns of the first order. They leave behind weapons for the Taliban to get it. They go on television and pathologically lie about it. We spend $1 trillion to go train a 300,000-person Afghan force, and they don't even fire a shot. It's just like the Taliban shows up. They're like, oh, welcome. Like, oh, thanks. That was a waste of 20 years. And by the way, I want to be very clear. Thank you to the veterans who sacrificed so much. You deserve so much better than this, Larry. You deserve so much better than the garbage and the nonsense that we have seen. And it's really upsetting. And, we really have in our government this collection of credentialed idiots that run us. That's only going to change when we understand who the sovereign in our country is. It is we the people. It still is us. And guess what? That also means taking back the House, taking back the Senate. But let's start making our communities in our image. That's why I love the Barrington story. I love the Barrington story because it's moms and parents that are rising up, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to take it anymore. We are going to take back the local apparatus of government. Here's the other way that we have to think about one of the ways we got in the mess that we're in. Thinking way too federal at times and not local. The local has so much power. The mask mandate, the vaccine mandates, the business closure mandates, all of those things kind of go to that. And so to kind of summarize all these things together, people say all the time, how do we win? And we went through some of these. Let me kind of give you some action points. You've got to become a political animal. The America I grew up in is over. 2008 America or 2005 America is done. You know what this means? You have to wake up thinking, where am I spending my money, spending my time, educating my children, consuming information? Everything you must do must be a reflection or in the pursuit of the country you want to live in. There's no days off. There's no days where all of a sudden you get to choose, you know what? I'm going to just let this kind of sit idly by. You know why? They did this for 30 years. They boycotted our businesses. They indoctrinated our children. They infiltrated our schools. They thought in a long-term way. And so becoming a political animal is one of those things, and that's obviously one of the reasons why you're here tonight. The second thing is that we have to fix the crisis of courage in our country. Is that we do not have courageous leaders right now in Washington, D.C. We do not. So now it's time for us to start rising up with courage. What is courage? George S. Patton famously said that moral courage is the most necessary yet absent characteristic in men. You know what the cool thing about courage is? Is that anyone can decide to be courageous. And also, it takes no special skill to be courageous. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to even be smart. You don't have to be wise. You have to instead stand up against powerful people when confronted and say, I'm willing to lose something. You see, courage is doing the right thing when you know that there's a cost associated with it. And that's the third thing that we have to understand. Charlie, what do we do? You have to admit and understand that you're not going to get your country back without losing something. You might lose friends. You might lose neighbors. You might lose a job. But this idea that we're going to all take back America and your life will remain exactly the same is nonsense. They control too much. Instead, we take back the country when patriots say, I don't care what I lose. All of a sudden, patriots say, I'm willing to give my time, I'm willing to give my reputation, I'm willing to give my energy, and I'm willing to dedicate my life to try to turn this nation and this country around. Because guess what? Courage inspires courage. When all of a sudden one person stands up, 10 people stand up, and 100 people stand up. One of the reasons why I'm traveling 330 days a year, speaking on college campuses, anywhere I can go in front of audiences, I want to do that. Because if I can inspire one young person to stand up against a professor, to stand up against an administrator, if I can inspire one of you to all of a sudden have that recommitted promise of America. So sometimes people say, Charlie, that's awfully depressing. Like, I'm going to lose all these things? Well, I can guarantee you one thing you can gain tonight if you make a decision to be courageous. You know what that is? You can gain the most important thing, which is you can be the same person in public that you are in private. That you do not have to pretend to be somebody when you leave the house and you have to put on some sort of camouflage uniform. Own it! Tell your friends you think Joe Biden is a senile fraud that should not be president of the United States. Own it! Tell your friends you think America is a gift from God that you want to preserve. You tell your friends that if you care about skin color all day long, you're a bigot. Who cares what you lose? We're here to save a nation, everybody, not build a local book club, okay? It's going to cost you something. And the book will be written 50 years from now of whether or not people that had everything so good that remembered in America, of whether or not we did what it took. And so that includes filling out FOIA requests for your local city council, FOIA. By the way, flood your local cities with FOIA. Make their life hell. No more of this like, I want to be. No. Make them so overwhelmed. This is what they do, by the way. They overwhelm the system. And so the final thing I'll say is this, and I think I'm okay on time-ish, right? Yeah, am I okay? Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to monopolize too much. Which is, I'll do a pastor's close, so it'll be like kind of 3 closings in one. So, first time I got you to laugh tonight, which is great. The amazing thing about America is how much power the individual citizen actually has. I never would have thought when we started Turning Point USA, and I say we because it was a room of Gary, and it was of Mike, and it was of Tom, the kind of impact that would have all across the nation. I never would have thought that. And it wasn't ever in the cards that all of a sudden we would have that kind of cultural impact just from this kind of, suburb of Chicago. And that's actually what the founders intended, though, is that the founders intended a citizenry that always had a chance to course correct. We're reminded as we see our entire, 20 years in Afghanistan fall apart, humiliating, of the goat-herding perverts that are in front of that desk in Kabul, that we're reminded, back to a time when we thought America was going to be lost. I mean, if it wasn't for Donald Trump in 2015 that shocked the world against Hillary Clinton, what kind of state of the country would we be in right now? It was because of millions of people that had never voted before that decided to reject cynicism. You know how we win? Anytime anyone says anything cynical, you look at them in the eye and say, no, Illinois can go red. You look at them in the eye and you say, no, we're going to take back the House. It's like, no, we're going to take back the Senate. And guess what? The other side is worried about it every single day. You want to know another vulnerability on the other side? This is the most obvious vulnerability, by the way, which is their ideas are garbage. No, they are. Thank you for deciding to embrace a policy agenda that is so unpopular and rooted in a bunch of lies. So it's really simple. They're like, okay, we want to try to govern the country by, this is my favorite, I said this on radio, it went totally viral today. I said, okay, so let me get this straight, that the American ruling class in America is like, oh yeah, the Taliban is so terrible, which they are, obviously. They're like, they have to they wear cloths over their face all day long, and they generally mutilate their children, and they tear down statues. I'm like, I wonder what country that sounds like. And they're like, they don't respect journalists that aren't on their side, and they only have state-run media. They don't allow freedom of speech and discourse. I'm like, maybe you guys have a lot more in common with the Taliban than I actually think. I don't know what country that sounds like. Is that they are embracing this kind of agenda that people in their spirit that have any sort of practical judgment or prudence that they are going to reject. And so we have to become incredibly articulate and good ambassadors of why we believe what we believe and diving deeper into these ideas, which is reading the great books that built our civilization, becoming on fire for the founding of this country, and always having that offensive mindset. People say all the time, they say, Charlie, how's it going out there? They kind of put the hand on my shoulder. How's it going out there? Somebody did that tonight. I'm not going to say who. And I felt like turning to this person. I said, what do you mean going out there? What am I, a running back for the Chicago Bears or something? There's nothing special about what I do. And I appreciate being honored at these events and acting as if I landed on the moon or whatever, right? Or like Jonas Salk or something. You had the polio vaccine. There's nothing special about this. I grew up next to all of you. I went to the same schools, drank the same water, watched the same baseball games, cheered for the same 2016 Cubs, right? Which was a great moment. Even though I don't watch baseball anymore because they decided they hate the country. So I haven't watched baseball all year. Same with football. Good luck. Hope it works out for you. All of you could be equally as involved. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come back is to say, hey, this is a call to action that I never want to hear that question again. How's it going out there? Instead, I want to say, Charlie, I'm in this fight with you. Instead, I want to say, Charlie, it's tough out here. I'm getting smeared. I'm getting attacked. I feel the heat. And I'm really glad to be partnering Charlie and Turning Point USA in this fight with you. That's the type of mentality we have to have. No more outsourcing that type of activism. No more kind of just parachuting it around. And so the question in front of us, which I know the answer for me, is what are we willing to do? What are we willing to do when it feels as if there is no chance and no hope? I'm here to tell you right now that it looks bleak. As it says, it's always the darkest before the dawn, that it's the vaccine mandates and the closures and the closures again and the Delta variant closures and then the indoctrination, all of that. But there is a political shock coming. I feel it in the air and I sense it. And also those of us know that something was stolen from us in that last election, by the way. And if we don't fix our elections, we're going to have a lot of problems, which is actually happening in these states. And so I want to be part of a movement that I'll be able to tell my kids and grandkids in 2060 that I was part of people in blue states like Illinois that helped get us launched, but we recommitted ourselves in 2021 to do the impossible and believe the impossible, to go play offense even though that people would throw things at us, to be courageous in the school board meetings, to file the FOIA requests. And all of a sudden, I want to look back and all of a sudden see those petulant children that call themselves Democrats run to the hills, because here's the other weakness they have. They're very weak. They hate confrontation. They run away. These are people that think they're all tough and everything until all of a sudden when decent Americans start to rise up. And I'm telling you right now, this reminds me of a time, and this will be the last story I tell, I promise, of the greatest man who lived in the 20th century, Winston Churchill. Everyone needs to teach your children Churchill, by the way. Amazing. December 7th, 1941, is that right, Pearl Harbor? Yeah. December 7th, 1941. It was a terrible day, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt said. It was a day that will live in infamy. Thousands of Americans were preemptively striked on a morning, sunk the entire Pacific Fleet. Things looked bleak, and we knew another world war was imminent. But there was one man in the Western Hemisphere that was smiling. In fact, he said, "It was the best sleep I ever had was the night of Pearl Harbor." He walks into his war cabinet, as it is told by Sir Martin Gilbert, the official biographer of Winston Churchill, who I trust, with whiskey and a cigar, and his war cabinet is anxious, nervous, and they haven't slept in days. And he's smiling, and they say, "Sir, have you lost your bloody mind? Pearl Harbor." And he says, "This is wonderful." He takes a sip of his cigar, and someone challenged him, "What do you mean this is wonderful? The Nazis are about to invade Brighton. We barely escaped Dunkirk. The blitzkriegs are happening nightly in London. They just bombed a hospital. Your political opponents are launching a potential recall effort against you. We can barely keep the Royal Air Force together. The French are doing the French thing and just running for the hills. Hitler's on the march. Japan is stronger than ever. What do you mean we just won the war?" And he reemphasized, "We have won the war." And the room got totally silent, because when Churchill raised his voice, people shut up. Took another puff of his cigar. He said, "I have studied the Americans my entire life. I know their spirit and their character and their conduct, and I'm here to tell you today that once the Americans wake up, the war is over." And I'm telling you here today, once we wake up, this war is over. We rise up, the Democrats will lose. We rise up, you take back the school boards. We rise up, we take back local government, and it starts in rooms like here tonight. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. Sorry if I went over. Don't stop. Keep it up. It's all right. Charlie, you sounded a lot like one of our founders, who at the time they signed the Declaration of Independence, putting their lives on the line, said to each other, "We pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." That's what you called us tonight to do. He called us to be among our founders, to repair to the standard erected by our founders. And to thank Charlie for that, I present you the committeeman, one of our hosts tonight, the committeeman of Schaumburg Township, Joe Felici. Joe?
Okay, thank you. You know, as those of you who've attended our dinners before, it's our custom to award the Spirit of Illinois Award to our speaker. So I'm going to read this and present it. It says, "The Spirit of Lincoln Award, presented by the Northwest Suburban Cook County Republican Lincoln Day Dinner, August 16, 2021, to Charlie Kirk, President and founder of Turning Point USA, for his organization and empowerment of young people by promoting the principles of free markets and limited government." Charlie, thank you very much.
Thank you. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Let's get a picture.
Okay. you so much. Thank you, guys.
Listen, I'd like to invite you to take your seats again if you're ready. If you want to keep applauding Charlie, that's okay too. I would like to invite every student in the room, whether you're the Turning Point students to be sure, but other students under the age of 25, say high school, college, to join Charlie in the hall on the outside corridor right now for a group photograph of the students who are here, setting the stage for the revolution that's going to take place in Cook County in 2022. Let's have a photograph of the students with Charlie Kirk, showing you were there the night the match was lit. Rocio, it's time to clear and we'll go on with dinner. The next course is the salad course. In just a few minutes, after you've enjoyed the next course, we'll be back with a little bit more of the program. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask everyone please to return to your seats. What a wonderful occasion this is to be talking to each other, to be laying plans, to be sharing experiences, exposing each other to our wounds, and we have been wounded as a party, we've been wounded as a community, we've been wounded as a country, and we heard a lot tonight about how to work our ways back. How to work our ways back. Now, Charlie Kirk challenged us tonight to resume the work of the founders, to once again pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honors, to make this republic work. And he challenged us to do it at the grassroots, to begin here in Illinois, to make a difference, to make a change in Illinois. And we have that opportunity over the course of the next year. We are now in the process of choosing a leader of our ticket, of our party, to carry the standard of hope, the standard of meaningful change, the standard of real reform, the standard of a conservative restoration in the Illinois election of 2022. The head of our ticket in 2022 will be seeking the office of governor of the state of Illinois to hand a pink slip to the deserving Mr. Pritzker. We have three of the people seeking our party's nomination for governor of Illinois in the room with us tonight. And I would like you to meet them. Perhaps you've been fortunate enough to meet them already, but this would be a wonderful opportunity to hear from them, to give them a short chance, a 3-minute chance each, to tell us a little bit about themselves and to tell us why we should begin thinking about them as part of the solution to Illinois' problems in 2022. So I'm going to call on each of the 3 Republican candidates for governor in Illinois for next year who are here with us tonight. I'm going to call on them in alphabetical order. It was the fairest scheme I could imagine to do so. And so I would like to begin, please, with the Honorable Darren Bailey. Mr. Bailey.
God bless you, friends. My name's Darren Bailey. I'm here with my wonderful wife, Cindy. I am a farmer from 4 hours south of here. People do talk like I do in Southern Illinois, believe it or not. I'm current sitting Illinois State Senator and just finished up two years as a first term as state representative. I come from a farm, Bailey Family Farm. Our slogan is faith, family, and farming. Let's talk about faith a little bit. Proverbs 28:2 says, when there is moral rot in a nation, its government topples easily, but wise and knowledgeable leaders bring stability. Friends, we need wise and knowledgeable leaders. And without our relationship and our Creator, we're doomed. Family, I am here at the urging of my wife of 35 years. I am here to protect the future of our 4 children and our 10 grandchildren. I am here to serve you and work with you to restore Illinois. Farming. Do we have any farmers in the room tonight? All right, we got a few farmers in the room. Chris Miller, who serves with me in the state seat, he just had to head out because we've got to be at Springfield early in the morning. So, early to bed, early to rise kind of thing. But farming, all I've ever known is hard work. You may not know me right now, but you will be very soon because Cindy and I are going to be all over this state. We're going to earn your trust, and we are going to earn your vote. Friends, last year, I've been pushing against the system since day one. April 23rd, I filed a lawsuit against Governor J.B. Pritzker and his illegal actions. I was awarded an immediate TRO, which meant I was exempt from his actions. May 20th, I was escorted out of the house for not wearing a mask because of their ridiculous rules since our desks were sitting 12 feet apart. I stood up and proved a point. That's what that was about. And then finally, on July 2nd, we won. Governor Pritzker was declared illegal and unconstitutional. And I'm here to tell you something. That lawsuit has not been dismissed, and it has not been overturned. So like Charlie Kirk was telling us, we have got to stand up. We have got to stand together. We have got to stand against this nonsense. We need bold and courageous leadership for the Illinois Republican Party, and with your help, we will fire J.B. Pritzker in 2022. God bless. Thank you.
That was Darren Bailey. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Gary Rabine.
Thank you so much. Okay, mine's just going to be a hair longer than 3 minutes because I just heard something from my buddy Ken here. He's talking to some marketing mind, TJ Brown. Where's TJ Brown at? TJ Brown says to Ken, he goes, hey, I got a perfect marketing gimmick for Rabine. He said, he's a paving guy, right? He goes, yeah. So he goes, how about Rabine challenges JB and his crew, his Illinois State crew, to pave a mile of road, the fastest and the best quality in the state. I'm in on that. I love that because I know we can do it. All right, so hey, TJ, I need your help on other stuff too on the marketing side. Thank you. Okay, so I'm a paving guy. My slogan is paving the way to stay. My goal is for everyone in this room, our grandkids, our kids and grandkids that want to stay in this great state of Illinois. I'll be asking everybody to be part of this movement towards the end of this 3 minutes as Charlie asked to engage in this fight. So get your notepads ready. I was blessed to be with Charlie and a few others from the start in the growth of TPUSA, a founding board member and a mentor to this great organization, this great young man. A few years in, I got a call from Bill Montgomery, Charlie's original mentor and visionary. He said, Gary, Charlie came up with another slogan. This is a good one. I said, what do you got? What do you got, Bill? He said, big government sucks. I said, I love it. And do you love that one or what? All right, so my first lesson in communism I'll talk about right now because I was ready for Charlie when he came to me with these ideas. My first lesson in communism, big government. At 19 years old, in the winter months, I worked in a factory for minimum wage at $3.35 an hour. I worked for the immigrants from around the world, most also making $3.35 an hour. They all came to America in the Chicagoland area for freedom, independence, and a dream. They left countries where their big government became too big and their freedoms disappeared. They came with an incredible vision of hard work and economic independence that hard work could bring to their families. They came for freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They came for the Illinois American dream. Pritzker loves big things. And he loves big government. For us, he loves big government. Pritzker loves big tax increases to us, so much that he invested $50 million to try to raise our taxes, while he took out his toilets to evade his own. Pritzker loves big crime so much He passed a bill that doesn't allow our police to arrest trespassers, yet he has a massive security force around his own private property. Pritzker loves big control over all of us so much that he masks us up and shuts down our thousands of small businesses as his family favors his Florida farm in a free state. All of us as Republicans can see the growth of this big, obese government. And many of our Democrat and independent friends can feel it too. I'm confident as I travel Illinois that a large portion of Democrats are not happy with this massive overreach of this governor. I'm confident that there's more opportunity than ever before to get Democrats and independents to come our way. We, the Republican Party, not only need to stick together and stop tearing down each other, we need to reach Democrats and independents who are not lovers of communism. We need to ask all Illinoisans to come together to fire this governor because his big government mindset sucks. We need to compete, again, with the rest of the states in job creation, competitive taxes, and a great family culture. I've got 3 things to ask each one of you tonight. Ready? You guys ready with your notes? All right. Number 1, read the cliff notes of the Marxist Communist Manifesto to see the similarities of this governor and our president's leadership. Read it. It's easy. You can listen to it in one workout. Based on the similar trends of this governor and these cliff notes, talk to all your friends, left and right, and find those who don't normally vote and get 20 to 30 of them to vote Republican. Convince 2 to 3 people who are worried about Pritzker's big government dictating overreach to volunteer on my campaign or one of my buddies here. I'm not a career politician. I'm a business builder, beholden only to the Illinois citizens and ready to take whatever actions are necessary to save our great state. I will do this without the burden of further political aspirations. I love business. My goal as governor is to be the most competitive governor in America, and I will compete hard to do 3 things: to create 50,000 jobs per year, to crush property taxes, and to serve families with a culture of great public safety and great education without indoctrination. This means no mandates on masks and vaccines. We all know big government sucks, but when I'm your governor, we'll be crushing big government on our way to paving the way to stay. Thank you.
Gary Rabine. And now please may I call on Paul Schimpf.
Well, hi, folks. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. My name is Paul Schimpf. I'm running for Illinois governor because Illinois needs common sense conservative leadership that we can trust. Now, I'm not a career politician either. I spent my adult life in the United States Marine Corps. I went to the United States Naval Academy, was an infantry. Yep. I was an infantry officer in the United States Marine Corps, and then I was a prosecutor in the United States Marine Corps. As a prosecutor, I got to go to this really neat vacation spot. You might have heard of it. It's called Iraq. But when I was in Iraq, I got to work the trial of Saddam Hussein. I was the lead American attorney advisor in the trial of Saddam Hussein. That experience did 2 things for me. 1, it gave me a healthy dose of perspective. We are truly blessed in this country. Our worst day here is better than their best day over there. So it gave me perspective, but it also made me not intimidated by anything. Once you've dealt with Saddam Hussein, the ace of spades in Baghdad, you're not going to be intimidated by Illinois politics. Now, in order to win statewide in Illinois, you have to do 3 things. The first thing you have to do is you have to be able to unite our fractured Republican Party. We don't have the margin to have anybody sit out in this election. Thank you. The second thing you have to do is you have to give the voters not only a policy contrast, but a life story contrast between yourself and J.B. Pritzker. And the third thing you have to do is you've got to win crossover votes. I can do all three of those things. I have a voting record. You don't have to wonder where I stand. I voted against every tax increase that crossed my desk. I voted pro-life. I voted in favor of the Second Amendment. I can unify our party. I can also give the voters the life story contrast that we have to have against J.B. Pritzker. You're not going to have anybody with a more different background than J.B. Pritzker. I was born the son of two public school teachers. J.B. Pritzker was born a billionaire. J.B. Pritzker worked as hard as he could to ship his wealth overseas to dodge paying taxes. I helped prosecute Saddam Hussein overseas while dodging incoming artillery rounds. You're not going to get a bigger contrast than that. And lastly, in order to win in Illinois, you've got to get crossover votes. You simply have to get Democrats to vote for you. I am the candidate in this race that has won a Tier 1 political race. I ran against Sheila Simon, the former lieutenant governor for the Illinois State Senate. The Democrats thought they were going to win that seat. They outspent us by over $300,000, and we won that race by almost 22 points. And the reason we won is because we talked about what unites us. Illinois is a great state being held back by a dysfunctional government and a divider-in-chief that is sitting in our governor's mansion. J.B. Pritzker will have the money, but we will have something more important. We will have the motivation, the message, and the truth. And the truth is, the people of Illinois want to have control over their kids' education and healthcare decisions. The people of Illinois support and believe in our law enforcement heroes. Folks, I am honored to share a stage with my fellow Republican candidates. We are all going to work together, and we are going to make sure that J.B. Pritzker is a one-term governor. J.B. Pritzker had said that we were unqualified, and that hurt my feelings. I was like, come on, J.B. I mean, we've both been investigated by the FBI. I mean, I was investigated by the FBI to get a top-secret security clearance, and J.B. Pritzker is still being investigated for his property tax fraud. So we make no mistake, J.B. will have the money, but we have the motivation, the message, and the truth, and we are going to work together and turn this state back red. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk to you all. God bless you all. God bless the state of Illinois.
Yep. Paul Schimpf. So, we've heard from Darren Bailey, we've heard from Gary Rabine, we've heard from Paul Schimpf. That's a pretty good start, I should think, on 2022. We're about to have dessert. Maybe some of you already have it, and coffee will follow, and then we'll be back to wrap things up. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. There are probably still passports that have not been collected, and there are probably still raffle tickets that people are filling out. Maybe even some raffle tickets that have not yet been bought. If I see a fellow over here holding a ticket or a passport in the air, may I invite, please, our Turning Point USA students to look around the room and see people waving their hands, waving tickets. They either want to buy tickets or they want to turn them in. Will you be kind enough in the next few minutes to attend to that? Because when we come back next, we'll get into that part of the program and we'll call in, make sure we call in all of the tickets. Most of them should already be up here, but we'll call them in and conduct these raffles, or these drawings. So please enjoy dessert and coffee, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Turning Point students are doing what we've asked them to do and collecting the tickets and the passports. If there's anybody in the room that needs to turn in tickets and passports, please wave your hands, wave your tickets, and attract the attention of some of the Turning Point kids. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call on one of the organizers of tonight's dinner. If I may ask, please, people to resume, take your seats. We have a little bit of the program left to do. It's worth hearing. Please resume your seats, unless you're a Turning Point student collecting tickets. That's what they're doing, I think. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me call now on the elected Republican committeeman of Schaumburg Township, one of our hosts and organizers of tonight's event, Joe Felici. Joe?
Well, I'm very pleased with our turnout tonight, and I wanted to start. I only have about a 35-minute speech, so don't worry about it. But I do want to start by thanking our keynote speaker this evening, Charlie Kirk, did a wonderful job, and our gubernatorial candidates, Gary Rabine, Darren Bailey, Paul Schimpf, and of course our MC, Joe Morris. They all did a great job, don't you think? And I do hope that you're all enjoying our 14th annual Lincoln Day dinner. It's gratifying to see so many of you who've continued to come to our dinners year after year. Each dinner we hit another milestone. The total income since the start of this dinner 14 years ago has exceeded $1.5 million. In fact, over those 14 years, we've been able to return close to $1.1 million to our host townships. Those funds help our organizations throughout the year, enabling us to continue to work to elect Republicans. So thank you all for making the last 14 years so successful. Now, I was only kidding about my remarks being, an hour and a half. I only have a couple more minutes, so I would appreciate if I could get your attention, because now's the part of the meeting where I need to thank the people who've helped on the dinner. I want to especially thank those people who bought ads in our program book. It's our most successful program book in our dinner's history. And I encourage you to take it with you and to patronize the people who have been so kind to advertise. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, especially our major sponsors, Dick Uline and Freedom Square. And all of our sponsor names have been rolling on the video, and we're on the board as the entrance as you came into the reception. Now, the dinner couldn't be successful without the hard work of our executive committee. And that consists of Kathy Penner. She's our dinner co-chairman, and the committee woman from Wheeling. She's right up here. Katie Dolan-Balmer, who is our dinner media director. From Hanover Township, she's responsible for actually the design and production and preparation of the program book. Quite a huge task. Ken Jochum up here as well is our elected official and candidate liaison, and he's from Wheeling Township. And Bob Vintage, who is from Schaumburg Township, is unable to be here tonight, and he's the program book coordinator. Next on the list, we'd like to thank our local Republican Township committeemen and other members of our dinner committee. I'm not going to introduce them by name, and since a lot of them have left already, I just publicly thank them. Now, the 2022 election is just around the corner, and our local organizations are preparing for it. We have a lot of elected officials here in the audience. Normally, I would ask them to stand, but again, I think a lot of them have gone because of the timing. So we're going to move on in a minute to our various raffles, but in the meantime, we have a special treat for you. If you would address your attention to the screens, we have a special message from one of our sponsors. So audio-visual guys, please play the video, and if you would please be respectful and listen to the video.
Good evening, Northwest. West Suburban Republicans, this is Dr. Sebastian Gorka. As we all know, the Constitution and our freedom are in the crosshairs of the radical left. Now is the time for like-minded, freedom-loving Americans to unite and take a stand. That is why I am proud to announce that I'm joining freedomsquare.com as their chief ambassador. Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
FreedomSquare.com is a digital commonwealth based on the principles of America's founding documents, designed to unite like-minded, freedom-loving Americans. Sign up now at FreedomSquare.com to receive email alerts as we close in on Freedom Square's launch. At FreedomSquare.com, you can customize your Freedom Square experience with your own personalized dashboard. All your favorite news sites, podcasters, and bloggers right at your fingertips. FreedomSquare.com's business directory is a safe harbor from cancel culture, designed to connect consumers and business owners with other businesses that share their beliefs and values. Spend your money with like-minded, freedom-loving Americans. FreedomSquare.com is also a resource library constructed for you to learn and teach about America's founding documents. Join us in the fight for freedom. See you at Freedom Square. FreedomSquare.com. Freedom lives here.
You should all go and investigate that site. I think it's going to be something wonderful that conservatives can use in their businesses, and I think it'll be a very good venture, and it's just getting off the ground, so go check it out. Okay, we're now at the end of the program. We're going to do our raffles. We have actually 3 things to do. We have our dinner passport raffle, and our booth sponsors, and our mega raffle drawing. And Ken Jokum on our dinner committee is going to do the dinner is going to announce the dinner passport winners. And he's drawing. This is the winner will win the color TV.
The winner of the 43-inch TV is Colin Holt. Colin Holt. Colin, see us when we're out and we'll give it to you. Hope you brought your big car.
We should have his name and address and everything.
Now, do we want to announce the other people?
Yes. Okay. And Ken also has the names of the winners for the various prizes that the gubernatorial candidates were giving away at their booths.
Okay, the first winner from the Rabine group, this is the Rabine gift that they were handing out, is Loretta Lucia. Loretta Lucia, are you here? Loretta? Okay, Loretta, you'll be able to go out to their booth and you'll get the gift. Okay, thank you. And from the Darren Bailey group, it's Holly Heydrich. Holly Heydrich, are you here? Are you here? Okay, yeah, I can't see with lights. Okay, so that'll also be out at their booth, Holly. And do the Schimpf people have?
Right here. Yes, right.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Why don't you announce it if you're there? Go ahead.
All right, our winner of a $100 gift card to Pinstripes is going to be Charles Liu. Charles Liu, are you here? We've got his phone number, so we will give him a call. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to do our mega raffle drawing now, and Kathy Penner is going to help with this. Now, the way this is going to go is the first winner will be the winner of the $2,000 prize, Then the second winner will be the $500 prize, and the third one drawn will be the $250 prize. To collect your money, I will need your name, address, email, and telephone number so that I can mail you the proceeds. So our first winner is for $2,000, and it's from someone from Elk Grove. It just says Fry on here, so I'm assuming it's a Mr. or Mrs. Fry, and it's from Elk Grove. So they are the $2,000 winner, and we will see that they get that. Okay, $500. Well, our super salesman for this event seems to have bought this ticket. Peter Kafsaftis. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Peter, you were the salesperson. The winner was Glenn Holmes. Glenn Holmes, sorry, false alarm. Glenn Holmes won $500. And Joe, you're going to close in a minute, okay. And our $250, boy, Elk Grove nailed it this time. Another Elk Grove person, Daryl Rutledge. So Daryl Rutledge won $250. All right, so I'm going to turn it back to Joe for the close of the event. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves.
And we would be remiss if we did not thank Joe Felici. Well, we have accomplished a lot tonight, I think. It's been a long evening. I hope you enjoyed the dinner. I hope you enjoyed the remarks of Charlie Kirk and of Darren Bailey, Gary Rabine, and Paul Schimpf. I think they were worth hearing from. And I'd like to ask Raquel Mitchell once again to join me now to close the evening. You've had coffee, you've had dessert. On your feet, please, ladies and gentlemen. Let's join together as I ask Commissioner Mitchell, please, to lead us in singing and meaning it, God Bless America. Commissioner Mitchell.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. I can hear you. From the mountains, through the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you.
That was magnificent. Thank you so much. That was just fabulous.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a long night, there's nothing left to say. God bless America, God bless you, and good night.